So I always advise anybody who comes to me and is early in their LinkedIn journey that think of what you can give. Why will somebody come to you? I totally agree with this point that if you are not marketing yourself, nobody else is. So you will have to market yourself. Now, whether you do it in a subtle way, whether you do it in a loud way, should depend on your actual personality. That's how that connect happens. Think of the person reading your profile. How much time will they give it? 5 seconds, 10 seconds. So keywords are important, but don't overdo it. This is what I said when talking of SEOs and all. People fall in that trap quite a bit.
And welcome to the session today, which is all about LinkedIn. How do you use LinkedIn to achieve your career goals, whatever they might be? We have a very exciting, very experienced, and evergreen speaker with us today, Mr. Anshuman. I'm sure a lot of you probably know him if you are present on LinkedIn in any form or fashion. You will be seeing a lot of good content, valuable, insightful content from him. And I personally know for a matter of fact that I have learned a lot from him since the time I started getting active on LinkedIn in 2022. And he's one person that really exemplifies to me, not just somebody who uses LinkedIn for his own advantage only, but really to create a community and drive a lot of different advantages for the broader community on LinkedIn. So thanks again, Anshuman, for doing this. Really excited to have you here. I think we'll just start with a quick round of intros and then we'll get into it. So I'll go first very quickly. For those who don't know me, my name is Arjun and I'm the founder of Pivot. We started Pivot a couple of years ago. And really the core premise is to help people make successful and smooth career transitions. So if you are thinking about changing not just your company, but changing your domain, your industry, your level in the organization, perhaps even trying to start something of your own, these are all areas where we specialize. And in all these cases, our end goal remains the same, which is to help you land your target role successfully. We'll talk more about that throughout the conversation, but without further ado, I want to bring in Anshuman to the conversation. And Anshuman, it would be great to have a little bit of your background as well, in case anybody doesn't know you yet. So welcome again, and please go ahead, feel free to share your intro.
Thanks, Arjun and team for this invitation. And in way of introduction, since this is a LinkedIn related kind of a session, you can always check me out on LinkedIn. In summary, I work as a head of operational excellence for a large IT services firm. I'm a quality and operational management, operational excellence kind of a person throughout. Just about 30 years of experience, 30 more to go. So being in this space only, I don't know anything else. And that's probably why I'm sticking to it. More recently, in the last few years, and that's what Arjun was referring to, I've been a little more active on LinkedIn. And serendipity, you can say that I gravitated towards guiding younger people, younger than me, on their career choices, transitions, and all. Younger than me almost includes everybody working. So that's a large sample or universe to cater to. So yeah, so today my space is two folds. One is operational excellence, quality related content, and second is mid-career coaching, which, like I said, mid-career is pretty much once you're into your job 5 years and till you retire can be mid-career coaching. Interestingly, I've recently spoken to two clients. I can call them clients because they did pay me to help them plan their retirement. And I was surprised because I am far from my retirement, but they did want to talk. So that's the breadth I get. But Arjun invited me today here to talk more about LinkedIn and how it can help. And if you don't mind, Arjun, I'll give a quick overview of my LinkedIn journey, and then you can, use your questions and
Yeah,
talk
absolutely. That would be a good way to get started.
So I started on LinkedIn before many of you would have heard of LinkedIn in 2006, and I have proof. So if some of you want that proof, I'll find it. Actually, LinkedIn tells you when you started. So that's how I discovered. And I distinctly remember when I moved to Bangalore from Bombay or Mumbai, I did realize that I might be leaving a lot of colleagues behind whom I might want to remain in touch. And this was before WhatsApp and all. So, this seemed the most obvious one. So the first 5 years was just staying in touch, here and there adding people who would add. And frankly, LinkedIn also was only that much that time. So the next 5 years, you can say 2010 to 2005, 15 or so. 2006, I moved in. So 2010 to 15, I started posting a little bit. I got my first job through LinkedIn. Not my first job, but first job through LinkedIn. And that was interesting. That told me, man, this thing works. So if somebody can get a job from LinkedIn or through LinkedIn in 2010, I might be a Hall of Famer in that sense. And then the next job in 2013 also came via LinkedIn. So I said, this thing really works.
Yeah.
So it can't be, and this was before
Can't be a
photographs were
fluke,
there. So it
right?
was,
If 2 for 2
yeah,
happened, it
and
can't be a fluke.
it can't be my charisma, my photograph. It can't be my looks alone that got me the job. It has to be working. And surprise, surprise, in 2016, when I was moving again from HSBC, that job also came through LinkedIn because my profile was shining by that time. And I'm using these terms not because I talk like this, but because I want to leave an impact that this works, right? So I will not wear my humility cloak today. So you might see me bragging a little bit here and there. That's not my normal self, but it is important for such cause because you have to go back with the feeling that this actually works. And unless I tell you that this actually works, you won't know, right? Uh, so 2016 I got, and then in 2018, and when I was again looking for a change, my interview was with a German. My manager at that time was a German person, and we had about 30-minute conversation on a blog that I had written on LinkedIn. That was my interview, and which was around change management and how long distance running is similar to change management and so on. And he turned out to be a person who was into fitness. I can't call myself a fitness freak, but I was running quite regularly at that point. And
You still do, right,
then
Anshuman? You're still a
I
marathon
am
athlete.
honored. I have a left knee injury, quite
Okay.
a serious injury. So sometimes if you meet me in person, you might see me limping and
Hmm.
dragging my left leg.
Hmm.
It's not a permanent injury. It will get okay. But I get some sympathy out of it. So I don't miss a chance to tell people. Uh, but I still do. But it's nothing compared to what I was in
Sure.
2016, 18, 2020 or so. Anyway, uh, so this is the job related impact that LinkedIn has had on my career. And there are countless people I know, and I've hired people also subsequently because once it started working for me, I realized that, it's not one way, right? I can also hire. So this is one example, Arjun and everybody else on the call. The other was that every time initially, when I was not myself writing and expressing so regularly and consistently on LinkedIn, I remember distinctly in 2008 or 9, I was quality manager for the marketing team of Infosys, and I needed to know, is there a global standard for website design?
Mhm.
Right. Since I'm a quality professional, I needed to know, is there a standard? And I asked quite a lot of people, and including people in marketing, and they said, kya bakwas, this can't be true. So I put a query on LinkedIn as my status query that if anyone knows. You will not believe, I got 6 responses. Some posted on I replied. Some, that time that DM thing was different. It was not this kind of DM. And I actually got an answer. There was an actually international standard for design. It was not a accepted ISO standard, but there was a standard. So after that, I have been posing a lot of queries every now and then, particularly when I needed to know about something, and I have never been disappointed. So that's the power of knowledge. The first one was job. This one is how you can knowledge. Third is there comes a time when you have enough knowledge to be able to share with others. So there might be other Anshumans who are looking for information from your space. So unless you are active in that space, you will miss out on the only purpose in life, which is to help others. At least I have grown up with that mindset that, if you spend your 75, 80, 90 years on this earth only seeking and receiving, then it's a very shallow life. And I'm on the wrong side of 50. So, so I can clearly say that
Or the
you
right side
start
of
to
60, maybe, Anshuman.
you can say, yeah, yeah.
Right?
I have no plans of hanging up my boots. So I plan to actively work till I'm 75.
Yeah.
So, and it's a publicly declared statement. I give two hoots to this retire hire. What is that fire hire and all that? Not for me. Anyway, so these three components of buckets I wanted to create. One is job related. The second is you receiving help, and the third is you providing help to others. So the last few years has been in that third space where I feel that in the career space I have had, you can say, some interesting career switches. I have made some choices and learned something based on that. And if I can help others based on that, why not? I did realize, Arjun, through these years that I did have some gift of articulation. I did have some gift of, and this is the bragging part, where I could, convey my thoughts better than many people. What use is that gift if I can't help others? So we will one day go away with that gift. The other gift was that I had a very good network amongst leading professionals. That comes with age and experience. So once you grow, I had a network. So about 3 4 years ago, I started this LinkedIn Live series, which invites people from all kinds of all walks of life, and
Yeah.
we discuss you know themes around managing better, which is my theme. Manage better is my theme.
And you've done over 100
And
episodes of these, right?
yeah,
You've
I
done,
might be the only one in India at
yeah,
least who's
very
done over 100 LinkedIn
prolific.
lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the I think this Saturday is 104th, if I
Oh,
am
wow.
not mistaken with the numbers. And this Saturday is the ex-vice chairperson of Tata Sons and Unilever in India, R. Gopalkrishnan, along with
Hmm.
Harish Bhatt. So that's the pedigree that you can get to, right? Of course, I didn't start there, right? So one has to realize that if you want to get anywhere in life, and this is general life gyan you didn't ask for, you have to be ready to start at the bottom of some race. If you don't have the courage to stand at the bottom of a race or for any race, you will never get to the top of any other race. Except, of
Hmm.
course, some geniuses who are born at the top. And I'm sure they don't have the time to attend this call. So they're not here. So that was a LinkedIn journey overview. I hope it gave the participants some window into how other people have used LinkedIn, and I can now get into your questions, Arjun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that journey. I think I'll just quickly share mine as well, very, very briefly, because I want also people to understand that, no two journeys are necessarily the same. Like, even though your journey was, let's say much earlier, started much earlier than mine, and you had, the job related benefit, then you found knowledge, and then a couple of other things started to trickle in. I think for me, LinkedIn was like just any other social media platform, and I wasn't a social media person. So for me, it was as good as nothing, like basically non-existent, right? I'd always been this person, Anshuman, who was like anti-social media. And
Hmm.
the reason was how people now talk about like mental health and how social media, let's say doom scrolling and digital addiction, all of these things can cause so many issues. I was one of them until 2020, right? Where I would not go for more than maybe 1 minute a month on any social media platform, right? And I used to, like, all my friends, family, almost everybody used to use social media around me. And I used to tell them, don't use anything because it can impact your mental health. It can distract you from things that are happening around you and all those things I used to say. But in 2021, I had to eat a humble pie and I started my own journey on LinkedIn primarily because I started, this platform that we are hosting this workshop on, which is Pivot. And it was a big motivation for me because a lot of the other founders who were in my circle, in my network, they either directly or indirectly encouraged me to use LinkedIn as a way to come across new people outside my core network. And because I was transitioning in my own career, going from management consulting to starting something new, I couldn't just depend on my existing network. So I had to step out of my comfort zone. And this was a time of COVID. So you couldn't go to networking events, you couldn't do anything in person. So I had almost no way of meeting new people until and unless I utilize online platforms. And I felt like LinkedIn, out of all the platforms, would be the right one, given that my platform Pivot is, everything to do with careers and work and all that. So that was my journey. And, it was a very specific reason. It wasn't necessarily like looking for a job or, just disseminating knowledge, getting knowledge. It was really to see if I could come across new people, to understand about Pivot better. And I think the journey has been very different from me, but also great learning one. And I've come across so many new people like you, where we have developed these good relationships, good bonds. At least I would like to think of you as a friend, where you haven't necessarily always tried to seek something from the platform. You have also tried to add a lot, and that's one of the running themes that I want to consider for this particular session. That when you're thinking about unleashing the power of LinkedIn, a lot of that power comes from giving, not seeking. You know, I think that is a misconception. A lot of times people think LinkedIn is all about taking, as you said, and there's a lot more focus on giving than taking. So I think that was really, really important for us to highlight in the beginning of the session here. Now let's get started. So
I can maybe add a little bit. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I'll correct you a little bit, Arjun, with your permission.
sure.
You said LinkedIn is mostly about, giving and a little bit about it. I think it is all about giving. So you cannot start with any other attitude other than I'm here to give.
Absolutely.
And universe will conspire in some ways if there is some will to help you out. And but this is a very, very difficult space if you are only approaching it with a receiving mindset, because human mind is such that we will tend to over amplify that space. So I always advise anybody who comes to me and is early in their LinkedIn journey that think of what you can give. Why will somebody come to you? And then one day, the in that sense, the people will come to you as well, and may never. So that's also okay. So I just wanted to dramatize that comment you made, just for impact. But yeah, let's get to your questions.
No, absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing I can be corrected on, it's about that, and I'm glad you did. I think in terms of, when people are starting out on LinkedIn, or they may just be exploring LinkedIn, initially, one of the things that I have found really helpful before you start even doing anything externally, focus on yourself, understand
Yeah.
who you are going to be on LinkedIn. So in that regard, one of the first things is your profile, right? Because that represents really who you are, that showcases to the entire 100 plus million people from India who are on LinkedIn, who Anshuman Tiwari is, who Arjun Prakash is. And I feel a lot of people don't do justice to their own profile before they start interacting with others. They think, again, let me drop in the DMs and try and get a referral for a job. But if people don't know you, why would they refer you? If people haven't seen your profile, and if your profile is not good, why would they do anything, right? So let's start there, Anshuman. I would love to understand today, now that you have spent so many years, what should people think about when they're thinking about optimizing their LinkedIn profile?
So There are two ways to look at it. One is slightly organic, Arjun, and the other is slightly more technical, which is the SEO and other things oriented, right? So I'll keep the technical part out because personally, I believe it is overhyped. The world doesn't work so technically, but there is some truth to it. So if particularly if you are selling something, you might need SEO optimization because people looking for certain phrases should be able to see your profile or see your services earlier. But we'll keep that out a little bit. The core component in when I look at many profiles, and I'll share my profile as well in a bit, so that people can see that I'm eating my own dog food. But core components, I suppose, LinkedIn provides you some assets, some property, real estate. So there is a banner. A lot of people miss that banner. It's very easy to create a banner on Canva, free. You can download and manage it. Let me do that right now. So how do I share, man? Share screen. No. So where is my profile? Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
So for the last 2-3 years, I've been using this phrase brick by brick more as a metaphor for what I stand for, that everything in life, or at least for the 99.99% people, is about working hard, laying the bricks, and then eventually one day other people will see a wall, right? So that's what I stand for. So I have made sure that that phrase, earlier this was manage better, not that I have given up on manage better, but I thought the manage better is my show, brick by brick is who I am. So you will see that I have created a banner out of this, right? What is your banner? What are you standing for? What should somebody look at when they get to your profile is important, right? Now, some people, of course, put the brand that they have worked for. If that is your identity, sure, that I don't have an issue with that. But use the real estate. Then again, I am quite active on TopMate, or at least I want to be. So I have given my TopMate ID there. So, and it's a simple ID, so people can actually, even if they can't click this banner, they can actually note it down. Now, rest of it, if you see, I always remind people that use this space very well. Keep it to minimum, but enough. Now, there are situations where people write so much information here that, you know, it is almost like the space was going out on rent and you want to make sure that every square inch is used. You don't have to use every square inch. You just have to use the optimal. Then there are this side, which is I've used only the company I work for because I am still employed. I'm still in the job market. I want people to know I work for a large global organization so that any prospective employer who is coming sees this. I don't put any other information on this side, mostly. Okay. Now, as you come lower, this is, of course, my view, but you will see it slightly differently. This section also, most people underutilize. This is like if you were going to a conference, what do you want people to read out as your introduction? So since I go to a lot of talks and sessions, I used that as my about. So of course I've added a little bit where have I spoken and all those kind of things. But there could be some unique things. You might have talked at 100, given a talk at 100 institutes. You might have helped out 500 people on other things. Like I've been invited to quite a few organizations. So I've given some examples. This all helps. Eventually you are selling yourself or your time. This is the third area which
Anshuman, sorry to
people don't
interject.
use.
Just one
Mm.
quick question on the about
Mm.
section, right? If you just go up to the top. So, I like one of the things that you have mentioned here, right? Where you have said, helped my clients win several quality awards, including Deming, and led initiatives that generated X million in benefit. So, a lot of times we get asked this question, right? Like, I should I be sharing my achievements? If so, should they be usually quantified achievements? Is it too much of a brag to if I tout too many of my achievements up here? So what are your thoughts on basically
It
highlighting
should
your
match. I
achievements?
think it should match your personality, Arjun. If you are a person who likes to talk about your achievements, this is the space to be yourself,
Hmm.
right? I am generally somewhere in between. I have been a very reticent, shy, introverted person, but I have realized the value of speaking up for myself over a period of time. So you will notice that I have made it. This is a very painstakingly difficult one for me because I had to work multiple versions to get to this.
Hmm.
So I would say that reflect who you are rather than find a rule, because eventually if somebody reading this then speaks to you and say, man, this guy was talking so much in this about me, but I have to poke him to talk. These are two different people. Nobody wants to hire two different
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right?
Be
Nobody.
authentic, be
Uh,
yourself, right? Like do what.
so be yourself in the window, and be yourself is a phrase I don't like because it gives sometimes people excuse to be, totally stupid. But leaving that aside, the window of less stupid or no not stupid people, that much is okay for be yourself. So it should be aligned to who you are. That is my main message. That don't do something in this space which is not aligned to who you are, and anybody speaking to you for 2 minutes will figure out, oh, this guy is completely different. Okay. So this is the next area which is underutilized. So in my case, you will see in my creator journey, one of my highlights is that Ankur Wariku was my 100th guest on my live show. So till now, this was in April 20th, but I have kept that as the main feed. I've got some awards over the years and all that, so I've used that as the feature. Now, use it judiciously. Uh, Many people put up their profiles and all CVs are also, that is also quite okay, right? Rest of it is not so much in your hand, but one section I would strongly remind everybody is that this recommendation section. So once you have enough recommendations, then you should be able to highlight. I have to clean this up a little bit. There are too many now, but at some point. So yeah, so this is something, this would be the last item I would say you can keep. So this is how all-star profile is created. So on LinkedIn itself, I'm an all-star profile, like many of you might be, but those are some of the highlights. So, but maybe Arjun, we can take a question at this stage if people have, because if people have a question about this section, then maybe we can take.
Yeah, I think we have a question already from Shekhar, and it's about he's asking you that he's curious to know how your postgrad journey has impacted your perspective and job offer potential. Not sure what the job offer potential exactly means. I'm wondering if that means something
I
that
did
you
my
did in postgrad.
postgrad in 1998,
Yeah, that's
right?
what I was
So
thinking.
it's not relevant now. But for some time it was relevant.
Yeah.
And since I moved from core engineering to I'm an industrial engineer by qualification, by primary qualification. So I wanted to move into more services industry. So that way the MBA helped, but I haven't given it a thought in. I give it a thought once a year because we have a college get together. so, so that's the only time I give it a
Yeah,
thought.
I don't know if
Yes.
this might be the most relevant forum for this specific question. I think what we can cover one of the
There's,
main things is, oh yeah, importance of keywords on in the LinkedIn profile. That's another question from Amarnath.
so yeah, so keywords are important, but don't overdo it. This is what I said when talking of SEOs and all. People fall in that trap quite a bit and tend to repeat their keywords. So somewhere in between is fine, man. Don't overdo it, because eventually when you give it out to somebody third party, they overdo it, and at some point it becomes a pain because you will have the same words repeating. Somebody who has zero clue about operational excellence wants to write my profile. I get 2 offers a week. we will revamp your profile. And I'm like, have you looked at my profile before you want to revamp it? So once you have crossed a certain mid-career thing, I don't think you should worry too much about keywords, unless you're selling something, right? So I'll differentiate. If you're selling something, then maybe it is important because those words might have to be shown up in your picture. So that's the keyword thing.
Helpful.
Hira.
Yeah, I think Hira has asked about in the banner section, should we talk about the X companies that we have formerly worked in? So ex Google, ex previous company. Does that help? Should it be
If
mentioned?
that's how you define your present, then you can. I have never used it, but I don't have
I'm
a
guilty as charged,
uh,
Anshuman. I'll definitely say that.
so
I have used it. I think there's multiple schools of thought. For me, it's not about whether it defines me today, but I do feel that, and again, maybe Anshuman, you might disagree, but I do feel like a lot of your prior experiences can be helpful for others to understand what you have
of
done
course,
in
that's
your
what I
life.
meant. That's what I
Yeah.
meant when I said how it defines you today, not in a derogatory way.
Yeah.
What I mean is that if what you do today, what you are today, what you are selling today derives or tends to derive some benefit from mentioning where you have been, then why not? In my case, it doesn't, right? I work for an already large multinational organization. I'm head of global operational excellence. All my previous roles are lower than this. So this is my highlight, career highlight. So why would I mention? And I mean, so I don't choose to, but I don't have a point of view. Only thing, again, align it with your personality. If you're a loud person, then so be it. Then put it out. If you're generally a reticent and quiet person, then maybe find a subtle way of letting people know. But I totally agree with this point that if you are not marketing yourself, nobody else is. So you will have to market yourself. Now, whether you do it in a subtle way, whether you do it in a loud way, should depend on your actual personality. That's how that connect happens.
Yeah. And Anshuman, just one thing I want to point out here, and you already mentioned it, but I want to kind of, like you said, emphasize it more so that it stays with people even after the session,
Sure.
is that, see, all these brands that we have attached to us, right? You can have Google, you can have Harvard, you can have IIMs, IITs, all the best in the world, or anything else. They are all just that. They are brands. They are not you. You are not them, right? And I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, that is what Anshuman's point is, that you are your unique own self. And like, for example, he has defined himself as a brick by brick person, right? If you look at even my profile, you look at other people's profiles who are active on LinkedIn and are generally doing well, they do define themselves first in their own way. For example, I define myself as somebody who's helping people in a certain way in their careers or something like that. So before they get to know whether I have gone to X school or worked at Y company, I want them to know what is my work dedicated to today, right? That is what defines me as a professional today. So that's how I have curated my headline. And I think that's how people should think about it, because I see a lot of good professionals who are active on LinkedIn first defining themselves before they ever talk about any brand, for that matter, right? So I think
एक
that's
जिग्नेश
one point.
का क्वेश्चन है.
Yeah.
Jignesh, since you are on camera in the call, why don't you ask your question directly?
Yeah, so thanks, Anshuman, for sharing your experience and the journey knowledge on LinkedIn. My question, let me make it more specific to the point is, you say, example, I'm coming from finance background and apply to different roles on FP&A, corporate finance, consolidation. And, most of the company comes up with their own specific JDs. Some skills would be common to the overall finance area, while some would be required a specific tailor-made skills. So my question is it like necessary to make LinkedIn profile more detailed to cover most of the skill sets, words, or the, or the generic, so that when recruiters or companies search for it, we fit into the the LinkedIn has like criteria 8 out of 10 matching your skill set, etc.
think there is usually no one answer, Jignesh. Generally, like I said earlier, it should align to your personality, but slightly more specific answer I can give you. Think of the person reading your profile. How much time will they give it? 5 seconds, 10 seconds? There is this rule about 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Let's say you are a slightly senior professional, so they might look at it for 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, but certainly not more than that, right? So in that space, your key capabilities should come out really well. But imagine now a room of 8 by 8 feet, and you think that somebody looking, if you are going to into that room and trying to find something, right? When will you find it better? When it is one of a few items, or when the whole room is filled with information or with whatever you are looking for, let us say a gunny bag or something, or a toy. If the whole room is filled with toys, will the child find the toy? Never. And if the toy is small and kept in a corner, again, it will be very difficult to find because you may not be able to find. So this is one example I always give to people, that just make it a little more than nothing, but don't give out everything, because they still have to talk to you. Now that wide space, because if you give too much, they will have difficulty finding, oh, what does Jignesh stand for? What's his core skill? And if they have 2 seconds delay in figuring out what Jignesh stands for, they have already moved to another profile. So aapka chance gone, right? So that is an important thing in my view. So don't give too much, but just give the key components of each role that you've done. Usually 3 to 4 bullet points is more than enough. In that 4 bullet points, the general template is that 1 or 2 should describe your activities, role, 1 or 2 should describe your outcomes. And there will always be some one interesting thing, like you are part of a DI council or something, an additional factor which demonstrate that you do more than what you are asked to do. So these 3 components I always advise. 1, what were your core activities or role? 2, what was the outcome? And 3rd, which tells me what does Jignesh do outside of what is he's asked to do. So that is usually, of course, you should have something, right? So don't make it up because that won't be again right. So that's how I will summarize this.
You and I discussed there 1 or 2 questions that I know come up pretty frequently when, I speak with people, and I'm sure you do too. The most basic reason people join LinkedIn more than anything else, I think, is networking, right? Before they apply to jobs also, before they, let's say, consume content or write content, anything, I think it's number one thing is it's known for networking. But, it's a paradox, I feel. And the reason is there are 100 million plus people from India only on LinkedIn today. But people have not created very strong connections. You may have, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 connections, but you don't speak with them, at least one-on-one. You don't really speak with them. So if you don't speak with them, they don't know you, you don't know them. Is that really a community? Is that really a network? I don't think so. So you have been somebody who I feel like has balanced numbers with the strength of your bonds and connections. Obviously not with every single person. A lot of them are just following you for your content and other things. But I know even if you go through some of your posts, you talk about how you have, done multiple events in person and online. You have, helped people. You have sometimes probably sought help from people. So that is real network, right? Where you give and take. And I know you say it's more about giving, but in the process, as a byproduct, perhaps, you get some benefits out of it. So how should one go about building their network, not just when I'm seeking a job, not just when I'm trying to get clients, but really for the long term, where those relationships hold up for the long term?
So, no easy answer, Arjun. And thank you for the observations that you made about me, but I have made a conscious effort. So I must admit that meeting people doesn't come naturally to me. I'm a self-confessed. I've already admitted that I am generally by temperament introverted, shy person. Uh, I can spend 2 months in a house locked up, not meeting anybody, and I'll be very, very happy. I don't generally need. But as I was growing in my career, I did realize that I do like meeting people as well. So maybe there is a paradox, maybe there is none, but I do like meeting people. So I genuinely like meeting people, listening to their stories and sharing mine, and generally, and not that I drink or smoke and I need company. I don't drink and smoke. So I don't even need that company, right? But I do. So first rule of networking is that have genuine interest in people. There are so many stories, so many struggles, so many joyful stories that people have to share. If you can be that ear for them for a day, for a half a day, for 15 minutes, for 5 minutes, you have made that their day. And see, in a long career, Arjun, there have been so many people who have listened to my stories. I can surely make 10 minutes out of my day to listen to somebody else's story. So that's the reason I go to all these offline opportunities wherever I get, and I arrange some of them myself in Bangalore. And whenever I'm visiting a city, I make sure that I drop a note to people I know. I will try and keep a half day, 1 day extra to meet people globally as well. I travel a little bit, and so that's one lesson, that be genuinely interested in people. Now, second is, of course, giving. So you are giving. And a third point would be a little bit of a revenge over COVID. You can say that, COVID pushed us so much into, not meeting people and all. So this is my revenge. And I'm sure many of you think that way. People have gotten too used to staying at home, and I'm a very anti work from home kind of a guy. I don't like it. I don't want it. I think it should be banned. but uh, but here I am. I actually work from home for since February of 2020. I have been in this room with small minor changes. I don't like it, but one has to. So I take every opportunity I get to meet people. Now, kind of tying it together for your networking question, definitely giving is number one. Meeting people.
But how do you give,
genuinely
Anshuman? Can you maybe share some ways that you found helpful?
So first is, of course, people want to talk to you, at least talk to me with some career issue that they are facing. So I have given a lot of time. And I know that, most of you see me on TopMate and all that, but that is only for people I don't know anything about, because I need to invest a little more time. There are many more calls that I take in person, people who already have my number or have already reach out to me. And so I do share. There are people who worked with me 25 years ago and still call me for some bouncing a career situation. Not that I expect them to do what I say, and I tell them clearly, I have zero expectation that you will do what I say. I am not interested in that. You have asked for my opinion. I am sharing my opinion. Now it is your call. I will still be friends with you if you don't do what I say, and of course, I will still be friends if you do what I say. And that is one of these places where many friendships are broken, because we start expecting, because we gave advice, we think that the other person is duty bound now to take that advice. That is sheer nonsense. That's not how life works. I mean, that guy might have talked to 5 people, and 5 people may have given 5 different advices. Is he or she supposed to do 5 different things in one situation? No. The person has made a choice.
Right.
And our friendship and relationship should not depend on the choice that they made. Right. So anyway, that's a philosophical bent to how I operate. But my network philosophy is very simple. I talk to a lot of people. I like to talk to people. And today also, when we were planning, I didn't want a WhatsApp thing. I said, okay, let's talk. And 5 minutes sometimes is enough to do that 2 hour of email and WhatsApp and all that. Maybe I'm too old for all this, but I have 2 grown-up sons, and I keep telling them, pick up the phone and talk. What will go wrong? The person might not take a call, and then you can message him or her.
Yeah.
So my networking thing is as simple as this. I don't miss a chance. If somebody is arranging something, I am always there. And for the longest time, people used to think that I'll enjoy a drink, but I actually don't drink. So I'm not going there for a drink. So I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Sorry, the
So,
question is not very, the answer was not very sexy or romantic as you might have
no, I
expected.
think it still
But
added
this is
value.
it.
I think, firstly, I learned two things, right? Number one, that you have to put yourself out there, right? Networking won't happen where people come to you. You have to go to them. You have to meet them. And I think
Absolutely.
the second thing is, like you said, I think you found your niche in terms of advising people on their careers or, just bouncing off their problems of you. And that might be a reflection of who you are as a professional, as a person, Anshuman, right? Like people have seen you go through this specific kind of career journey and do very well on LinkedIn. For another person, like maybe me or maybe Manjari, people might come to us for another reason. I think whatever it is, we should be open to kind of giving back to the community. So I think giving back is a running theme
Absolutely.
of the session. Let's move on. I think we got another question or two here. One is from Rakesh. So Anshuman ji, can you suggest how to approach conducting a creators event you organize in Bangalore? And after event, how do you take it forward? I mean, that's a good question about networking. I mean, do you encourage people to firstly go to the offline events, or should they be okay with the online
I'm
one?
a I'm a huge offline person.
Yeah.
I think I've already said I don't even like working from home. But I'm a huge offline person. You don't have to be, but I'm just saying who I am. I think the question is referring probably to the event that I organized recently in Bangalore, Arjun. I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm
Yes, I
reading
think
what I
so. It
want to read.
sounds like that.
But Rakesh, so the event that I organized, that in our LinkedIn creator circles, it has been discussed for a long time. Eventually, I said, okay, we will keep planning. So let me announce one and go ahead and do it. So no, I mean nothing more than that. I've been thinking of that for a while. I have now announced one in Delhi. Hopefully, it will happen in October, and that's about it. So I think from your point of view, Rakesh, whenever you see such an opportunity, you should try and attend. Um, Conduct will happen later, right? Somebody like us, Arjun, myself, who are more connected, who already have that network, who already know people in that space, will find it easier to connect. So for now, your role in life is to attend such networks, and at one point, maybe in a year, 2 years, you will be in that space to conduct. And then people will come for your session. So people didn't join the session I called for because it was conducted by me. People joined because they were wanting to meet, right? And I just became a medium for that. And it was not sold like Anshuman Tiwari's session or something. I mean, even if 10 people turn up, how does that make my life any different? So I don't see it that way. I want to provide an opportunity for people to meet. And about 150 odd people met.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I think networking definitely can be online and offline. It's not restricted to one. The only thing is, I feel like it can be differentiated the way you do it, because online, a lot of times you have to do it one-on-one. One to many on online can sometimes be hard unless you're attending these kind of, let's
So
say
Arjun,
sessions and
sorry,
workshops.
I think sorry, I'm interjecting you, but I did want to add something on the online part.
Hmm.
I did say that I'm a very offline person. I've become a very offline person from being a very shy person because I realized the value of it. So I've turned myself into a more offline person. But I'm heavily available online also. I don't miss a DM. If somebody writes to me, 99% they will get an answer. If
Hmm.
somebody WhatsApps me during the day, I will definitely find an answer. Even at work, there is not one Teams message that goes unanswered.
Hmm.
Even if I read it, I will put an emoji to make sure that people know that I have read it.
Yeah.
So that is
So
the
there is
way
no
you respect
ghosting
somebody
happening
who's
ever from Anshuman's side. No ghosting.
very rare situation, unless I've just missed out of sheer oversight or having read it once and forgotten later on. But it will be like number will be less than 1%. So you have to do this, right? You have to, and if you think that this is wasting your time, I mean, if I were to think that way, then you would not be calling me on this session to talk about networking. you will find somebody else. So if people think that they can be somebody else without doing what that somebody else has done in their life, that is nonsense. You don't become somebody else without doing the things. I keep saying this brick by brick thing. These are the bricks you lay. You have to do this every day for somebody to call to your session and say that we respect you for your these ABCD skills. Doesn't happen. I mean, this is not a Salman Khan movie that you will go to gym for 2 days and then come out with all muscles rippling. So it takes a lot of work and effort and time and consistency and hard work, and um, those who are married will understand other other situations as well. So yeah, it takes a lot of work. So online also, I do every weekend. I have 1 or 2, maybe sometimes 3 or 4 calls with people I sometimes don't even know, and
Right.
yeah.
And I think,
So
the brick by brick is such a good phrase because it really encapsulates the compounding effect of things over a period of time. Because you know what happens, Anshuman? I've come across a lot of people, and I'm sure you have too, perhaps, who do some of the things that we may be sharing with them. Like, for example, if you tell them, hey, attend the events and, write on LinkedIn or change your profile, they work on it for maybe a week, maybe 2, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, right? And after that, a lot of time, they don't see immediate efforts. So they give up. They get busy, they get distracted. It's not their fault, but they are not able to carry perhaps that discipline that's needed to prioritize whatever they are
no,
doing.
it is their fault, Arjun. So I'm at that age where I can say that it is their fault. I don't I don't have to be politically correct.
Hmm.
If their goal was to be more visible, present, active,
Hmm.
have more impact and influence on LinkedIn, and they don't have the discipline, the ability to absorb pain and show up daily or whatever frequency they have decided, then it is their fault, right? So who else are we blaming?
Yeah.
You know, so blame is
Well,
the
I
easiest
think you're
sentiment.
right. It might be considered. See, to me, I feel like anytime you put the person that kind of like this, pigeonhole that, hey, you are not doing this right and you are at fault, I think it demoralizes. So I usually try to see is, okay, what is coming in the way of you actually continuing this? And
Fair
is
enough.
that something you want to solve for? Rather than feeling demoralized and discouraged, you attack the problem. So I think, the compounding effect, it is the thing that I want to really highlight here, is that when I also first started, I'm sure when you started, we didn't see, forget overnight success, we didn't see, at least for a few months, maybe even a year or two, we didn't see a lot of traction. It took some time to get to, right? And consistent efforts. And that goes for anything. I think a lot of things that people talk about on LinkedIn, I find sometimes cringy and sometimes it's just very, on the moment marketing and trend stuff. But one thing that I do like that many people who are active on LinkedIn, and maybe you have spoken about that as well, is this brick by brick concept, is the consistency concept. That really pays off. Most people, despite knowing it, just don't do it because of various reasons. So I
They
think,
don't want it hard enough, right? So
yeah,
that's it. If you want something hard enough, then I think most people will find a way to invest that effort.
yeah,
So that's how I think, of course, some talent is required. Like I keep saying that, a lot of people tell me that your stories are wonderful, they're lovely reading and all that. I said, they're not my stories, they're my life. I've lived those stories.
yeah,
So when you get to a stage in your life, you will have those stories. If
yeah,
you're 22 and you want to write the stories that I write, it's not going to happen because
right.
you've not lived that life. Maybe you have certainly lived some life at 22 also, but your stories will be different and they will not have the same flavor as somebody who's 52 like me. So
Mhm.
that that is also one of the options that we, we have to find what we can do and not what others are doing. And so that's why I don't write on trending topics and all that, because I don't know what it does to me. And, if Neeraj Chopra won a silver, didn't change my life. So I don't have anything to say. Last time around when he won the gold, I had something to say about it, but this time
Yeah,
I didn't have something. So I didn't post. So
yeah,
anyway, this is slightly digressing, but there are still a couple of questions. I think Pratibha
yes.
has asked question about.
I think let's
are
take
you
Diksha
equating...
first, in case
Sure. I
since
missed
she
that.
has asked,
Sorry.
right? So Anshuman ji and Arjun, as a budding professional and founder, could you share your routine for effective networking? How many people do you connect with? What strategies? I think we have covered some of this. Anshuman, is there anything else you would like to add from a networking perspective?
Firstly, I love these kind of sessions because this is the only place I get called Mr. Tiwari, Anshuman ji, and all this.
Lot of
Thanks to
respect.
Diksha. Question gaya baad mein, but this, this is fun. But see, the moment you approach networking with a strategy or plan and all, that will start failing. So, like I said, first, if you seem very young and you mentioned also you were budding professional, so first start developing genuine interest in people. Even if you meet one person a day, did you learn something that they may not have told anybody else? I mean, not like you are looking for some secret or something, but did you notice anything? Did you understand something about them? And if you're going into that meeting with that approach, you will cultivate this ability to do this more often. And then when you repeat this, you will see that the network will grow. So one a day, one meaningful interaction a day where you think you learned something about this person that you might not have learned. For example, I mean, keeping simple things like keeping your phone away, keeping just focusing on the person, even if it is that a 10-minute thing, you will come out with something. So I would say one a day is more than enough, but meaningful, conscious, alive, attentive, and network and all, or everything will fall in its place. It's all will happen. Don't worry too much.
I'll just take a second here because Diksha asked me as well. And Diksha, thanks for not putting G in front of my name. I really appreciate that.
He's actually older than I am, right? So,
No. I think she was just being respectful towards you, Anshuman. But no, I think for me, I really, really like what Anshuman just said. I think in the beginning, don't focus on the high level strategy and the numbers game. Maybe later down the line, if you're very busy and your time is extremely, extremely limited, then you can think about how to allocate your time and have a strategy for it, right? Right now, if you're a budding professional, what I would suggest is, like Anshuman said, be very attentive and in the moment whenever you are meeting even a single person, and try to like have even one conversation a day, whether it's on LinkedIn or outside of LinkedIn, with a new person. But that person should feel like when you were speaking with them, you had nothing else on your mind except that conversation, right? And after that conversation, you will see that maybe 5 or 6 out of 10 conversations, you either learn something new that you can then later apply in your career, or you may be able to actually help that person. And since Anshuman and I have been talking about giving as a big theme tonight, I think you will have opportunities to make a difference in other people's lives as well. So keep keep your receptiveness open to not just take in, but to give as well, even though you're at a very early stage of your career, right? But I think we have covered a lot on networking, so perhaps we'll move on. And thanks again for asking your question. Um, Parth had asked this question earlier, Anshuman. I know we are coming up on a time, so we'll just take maybe Hira's question, Pratibha's, and Parth, and that will be it. So Parth had asked this earlier, should we be adding CV in the featured section of our LinkedIn? That might be, I'm guessing it's a very straightforward question, but the context might be that perhaps Parth is looking for a
yeah,
job.
if you are looking for a job, then I often tell people that it might be a good idea because many recruiters who visit your page can actually download without, bothering you, and do the match and then come to you. So, but try and keep it to one page in that sense, so that you have something 2-pager, 3-pager later on. If you give everything away, then what do you have later on to talk about? So and one page is really attractive and simple. You can design it in Canva, a lot of templates available. Just a simple, visually appealing summary of your career is quite okay. I did that for some time. I can share it in this close, smaller forum. I removed it only because it had my phone number, and people started calling up and WhatsApping me with weird requests. Of course, for job and everything, loan and everything else. And then at some point, I said, I figured out where it is coming from. and I had to delete my own CV. And on a CV, you will have to give your phone number. So I would suggest if you're in the job, in the market for a job, for that period, you can, because that risk you have to take, that your phone number will go out to many people.
Yeah.
Not the forum to say this, Arjun, but I do advise any girls, ladies who come to me for advice not to give out their phone numbers like this, because we are not living in a very nice place. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to say this, but I think it is important these days to be extra careful on these matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. We have two people I know personally, and I would love to at least have their questions answered. So Pratibha's question we'll take first, which is something you were talking about earlier. It's an interesting philosophical question, or maybe a practical if you think it is. She says, Anshuman, are you equating visibility with impact? I'm just curious if you can elaborate on that.
So I get why you're asking, Pratibha, this, but I'm not equating it. I'm saying it is in a way a prerequisite. In a highly crowded world, if you're not visible, your opportunities to make impact are limited. Right. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying that just by being visible, you will have made an impact. I'm sure you understand that. So my reason is that, and this is my own journey, right? From a very reticent, shy, introverted, unable to speak in public kind of a boy till my college days. It's been a 35-year-old journey. I'm still work in progress. I keep investing time in improving my skills and being able to, I still have to push myself to go out in public, but I do that because that's important. If I don't do, and there are enough and more people in this world, somebody else will do that job. So my opportunity to make that impact, have that influence is gone. So if I want that opportunity, I have to be visible. Of course, it will be in my style and not somebody else's style. So that is still in my control. That's how I would say, Pratibha.
I think that was well answered, and I agree completely. So I think last question we'll take from Hira. Hira, please go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, thank you, Arjun. Thank you, Anshuman. Anshuman, I'd heard your podcast with Arjuna Datta, and that's when I just felt that, okay, I mustn't be missing this. And yeah, I think of that moment is when I started following you. So thank you so
Thank you.
much for such a insightful exchange. And Arjun has a way, has a flair for these interactions. So I didn't want to miss this also.
Thank
So
you so
my
much.
question is, thank you. My question, Anshuman, is, and I think a bit of it is what you just maybe mentioned, but I will still ask while I'm on this space that you mentioned that if you do not market yourself, nobody else will. But selling yourself, bragging about yourself, or calling it out, doesn't come easy. I mean, like you mentioned that you've also been this reticent person. Now, there must have been a pathway till the time you discovered I'm this brick by brick person. So, what went into, and I understand now that putting yourself out there is an evolving journey. So, I think, we keep evolving and we keep building this profile also. But what are some of those you want to if I want to build my brand now, so what are some of those non-negotiables which must just continue and to put yourself out there?
Good question, Neera. I think Arjun will need another 1 hour. so,
I'll leave the session. You can
but,
continue, Anshuman, if you like.
I will see that as a threat, but so I'll summarize this, Neera.
Yes.
Slightly difficult question, but firstly, I said this earlier. One non-negotiable is the courage to start at the bottom of any race. When, particularly for people who are slightly advanced in age and have achieved something in one sphere, to now start the journey in another sphere where they are at the bottom of the race. I did that when I became more active on LinkedIn, and a lot of my colleagues, my seniors also have confessed that they are unable to do it because they know that when they will start with 0 followers and very poor writing and very poor articulation. They know they will get better, but they don't want to start that at that bottom. Abhi, this is not going to happen. Right. So you will not get to the third rung of the ladder without climbing the first two. So this is a complete non-negotiable in my book. I always tell people that have the courage to start a journey that you really, really want, but bottom. Second is some thick skin. So my own family members don't like my posts, right? They don't read. I mean, they don't like as in they don't even read. So depending on people you know, like family members all included, for your journey is complete waste of time. So don't depend on that. There will be people out in the larger world who will like what you write and what you share. If you have to depend on them. So that and some thick skin, like I said, there will be people who will not be nice and all that kind of stuff, and that I think everybody knows. The third will be, which is often spoken about, is this consistency and all this bit. Now you can choose your consistency. You don't have to write daily. You can choose 3 times a week. You can choose. I mean, one of my favorite content creators is Neera Sachdeva. She's well into her 70s, mother of Sampark Sachdeva, who's very popular on LinkedIn. But I read Neera ji's posts more than I read Sampark's posts. She writes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at around 8:30 or something. Same time, same frequency. And it's all stories from her long career. Wonderful stories. She's not selling anything. She's not here to sell, but I mean, she's just sharing. So you can choose your consistency, but then stick to it. So I think these 3 things, I would say, of which the first one is the most important. I think they are in order of importance. So in some ways.
So I think that brings us to just closing up today's session. I thoroughly enjoyed it, Anshuman, as always. You know what I really love about your speaking style is it's not monotonic. It's very engaging, and you bring in a lot of the personal flavor. It's not just about spreading gyan. It's a lot about sharing who you are, whether it's something that is successful side of you or the not so successful side of you. You bring your whole self, not just part of you. And I think that's really admirable, something that I think we can all learn from. So thank you for that. I just want to quickly share. Manjari, thank you so much for sharing this. I was just going to share Anshuman's profile. I think you can reach out to Anshuman through our platform or through LinkedIn or through TopMate, whichever you feel is the right platform for you. Do reach out to him. He loves having these conversations. I'm sure he would love to speak with you. Also, check out our platform, mypivot.work, in case you're looking for personalized career support, especially when you have an ambitious goal in mind. Do check it out. And that's pretty much it. I think we have covered a lot more than I had expected. And I really, really appreciate everybody's, giving us their precious time on Thursday evening. I'm sure you have to go back to your families and friends. So please do that, and do talk about this conversation on LinkedIn, right? We have spoken a lot about LinkedIn, how you can harness the power of the platform. I think one thing you can do, if you would like, is talk about whatever you may have learned or whatever questions that you feel you have gotten new insights on, because spreading that knowledge can be a great way to start giving to your community. Yeah, once again, thank you so much, Anshuman, for your time and for sharing all the jokes and insights and everything. Really,
anytime.
It's not just education, it's very entertaining.
Next time, 5-hour call.
Done. I'll bring a lot of coffee with me.
Sure.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for staying a little longer. And thanks, Arjun, Manjari, and everybody else who stayed on. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Take care.